And when I hear you black folk talking about the good old days when the family was the family, when was that? When white folk could just come in the house and lynch any nigga in the family they wanted, and when the damn thing you would do was say, well, thank God they didn't get all of us. Was that the family y'all talking about? The family when you could go to World War II and the same German that killed your daddy can come to America and live and work where your daddy can't work. That's the black family you talking about. You talking about back when the black family was the black family, when black American soldiers was coming back bringing those Germans to the POW camps, and they'd let them white murdered Germans go into the front of the restaurant and sit down and eat like men, but them niggas had to stand outside and have their food pitched to them. Is that the black family you talking about? Well, God don't never let me go back to them heathens. Huh? I mean, do you know who I am?
Community. So it's a worrisome time, I grant you that.
But you know, Phil, I think that he just did exactly what Deruba brought up, which is that when we deal with the issue of white racism, white people don't deal with the fact that they are the ones who are sicker than anybody else in this particular issue, which is why when you deal with the question of race, you cannot deal with what's wrong with these African people. See, the thing that happened in South Central started with a malady in the justice system, where white people could not see white men who had did something against black men and penalize them for what everybody in this country knows that they did. So the problem of white racism is that we don't look in depth and do these little documentaries on white people and what's wrong with them.
Of all colors, who have as much of an interest in the salvation of their babies as...
But the problem with that, Phil, is that the people of good intentions in the white community are the minority. They do not stand on principle, and they do not struggle against their own racism and white skin privilege. See, the problem is this. It's like men who say, I understand how you feel as a woman being subjected to sexist behavior.
They can't possibly.
Not without interacting with women and empowering them.
Well, the problem, though, I think with this whole analysis...
To the master. Whether having to deal with this reality was a very remote possibility. It was in no one's mind. When I was growing up, I was taught in American history books that Africa had no history, and neither did I. That I was a savage, about whom the less said the better, who had been saved by Europe and brought to America. And of course, I believed it. I didn't have much choice. Those are the only books there were.
I'd like to add to that. The professor, the president, John Silver, said that one of the problems with the programs of the 60s was that they did not provide corrective measures to help the black family. We need to understand that when black people were brought here to the United States, they were brought here as an act of war. They were kidnapped here, and the destruction of the black family and the creation of a slave mentality was an integral part of the development of this nation state. So there has never been an interest in the black family, and that's reflected today. But even more, every city in which we have aspired to so-called political power. In Newark, black males are being murdered by the Newark Police Department under the guise that they're robbing cars. When we look at New York City, the police riot in the streets. When we look at LA, there was a riot in the streets. All of these cities have black mayors. Yeah. So we have to begin to understand that moving black people up the economic ladder does not necessarily mean that black people on the bottom of the economic ladder are going to be empowered, because there are black people who identify with the system so much that they are self-hating Negro.
Everyone else seemed to agree. If you walk out of Harlem, ride out of Harlem, downtown, the world agrees. What you see is much bigger, cleaner, whiter, richer, safer than where you are. They collect the garbage. People obviously can pay their life insurance. The children look happy, safe. You're not. And you go back home. And it would seem then, of course, that it's an act of God, that this is true, that you belong where white people have put you. It is only since the Second World War that there's been a counter-image in the world.
I just wonder why sometimes, often black men choose white women over black women. I don't understand that.
Well, I think that's very easily answered by the fact that we still live in a world where we base images or beauty off Europeans. In other words, if America defines beauty as light skin, long hair, and blue eyes.
Love and happiness